Virgo, I have to stop. I have to stop right now. I have to put down everything I was holding. I have to step back from your energy field. And I have to tell you that in all the years I have been doing this work, through thousands of readings, through countless souls, through every sign of the zodiac more times than I can count, I have never seen what I am seeing in your frequency right now. Never, not once, not even close. I am not being dramatic for effect. I am not building suspense to keep you watching. I am telling you the literal physical truth of my experience as a reader. My hands are cold. My heart is pounding in a rhythm that does not match my breathing. The room I am sitting in feels like the air pressure just dropped, the way it drops before a storm that rewrites the landscape. I had to pause. I had to check my own energy. I had to ask my guides if I was interpreting this correctly, if my vision was clear, if what was flooding my third eye was actually yours and not some bleed over from another timeline. And the answer came back not as a whisper, but as a roar. This is Virgo. This is your energy. This is your field. And what is happening inside it right now has never happened before. Not in my practice. Not in my experience. Not in anything I have studied or witnessed or been taught to recognize. Someone underestimated you, Virgo. But that is not the shocking part. People underestimate Virgos all the time. The world is full of fools who look at your kindness and see weakness, who look at your service and see subservience, who look at your meticulous nature and see smallness. No. What I am seeing is what happened after they underestimated you. What I am seeing is the energetic equivalent of a supernova that has already begun, but whose light has not yet reached the observers. What I am seeing is a distortion in the fabric of reality around you, a bending of cause and effect, a collapse of a false narrative so total and so violent that it is creating a phenomenon I do not have a name for. And I need you to sit down, I need you to breathe, and I need you to prepare yourself, because the person who underestimated you is about to witness something that will haunt them for the rest of their life. Not because you are going to hurt them, not because you are seeking revenge, but because you are about to reveal what you actually are. And what you actually are is so far beyond what they mapped out, so far beyond what they planned for, so far beyond the little box they built for you in their mind, that their entire framework of reality is going to crack when the truth hits them. I need you to understand the magnitude of this. I need you to understand that this is not a reading about love, though love may be involved. This is not a reading about money, though money may flow. This is not a reading about career, though your status is about to shift in ways that defy promotion. This is a reading about essence, about the core of your being, about the thing that lives underneath your competence, underneath your helpfulness, underneath your careful, organized, beautifully methodical approach to life. Because someone looked at all of those surface traits and they made a calculation, a fatal calculation. They looked at your willingness to help and they filed it under easy. They looked at your attention to detail and they filed it under obsessive but harmless. They looked at your quiet nature and they filed it under non-threatening. They looked at your patience and they filed it under infinite. They looked at your forgiveness and they filed it under permission to repeat the offense. They looked at your silence and they filed it under assent. They looked at your generosity and they filed it under desperation to please. They built an entire strategy around the assumption that you were a supporting character in their story, a utility, a resource, someone who could be relied upon to show up, to fix, to absorb, to tolerate, to adjust, to accommodate, to never push back, to never demand, to never reveal the full terrifying scope of what you are actually capable of. And they were wrong. They were so catastrophically, cosmically, historically wrong that the universe itself is now intervening to correct their miscalculation. And the correction is not going to be gentle. The correction is going to be absolute. Let me tell you who this person is. Because I know you are already scanning your memory, already flipping through the Rolodex of your relationships, already feeling that cold spot in your stomach that tells you exactly who I am talking about, even if your mind does not want to land on the name yet. For some of you, this is a figure of authority, a boss, a manager, a leader, someone who looked at your meticulous work and your refusal to complain and your ability to make everyone else look good, and they decided that you were a workhorse. They decided that your excellence was something they could harvest without cultivating. They piled on the responsibilities without the title. They added the workload without the compensation. They assumed that your standards were so high that you would do the work of 3 people just because you could not stand to see it done poorly. They looked at your silence in meetings and interpreted it as a lack of ideas rather than the profound restraint of someone who knows exactly what is wrong but is choosing the optimal moment to speak. They looked at your willingness to cover for others, to fix their mistakes, to stay late, to arrive early, to hold the standard when everyone else let it drop, and they called it loyalty. But they mistook your loyalty for a leash. They thought they could pull it forever. And now, Virgo, now they are about to watch you do something that will make their understanding of you obsolete. You are about to outgrow them so completely, so visibly, so undeniably, that their authority over you is going to dissolve like sugar in boiling water. You are about to reveal a capacity for leadership, for vision, for execution at a scale they never imagined you possessed. And the worst part for them, the part that is going to keep them awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, is that they had this power sitting right in front of them. They had access to it. They could have elevated you, collaborated with you, learned from you. Instead, they treated you like a tool. And tools do not get invited to the table. But you were never a tool. You were an architect. And the building you are about to construct is going to cast a shadow over everything they thought they owned. For others of you, this person who underestimated you is an ex, not just any ex. The one who looked at your love and saw a safety net, the one who confused your devotion with dependency, the one who believed that your heart was so loyal, so forgiving, so endlessly patient that they could drift, disrespect, neglect, betray, and you would simply adjust. You would simply work harder. You would simply analyze what you did wrong and fix it so they could be comfortable again. They looked at your willingness to communicate, to process, to seek understanding, and they saw weakness. They saw someone who would never leave, someone who was too invested, too attached, too afraid of loss to ever walk away. They built their entire sense of security around the assumption that you were stuck, that your love was a trap you had set for yourself, and they could wander in and out of it without consequence. They underestimated your capacity for finality. They underestimated the precision with which you can cut. They thought your careful nature meant you were slow to act, slow to decide, slow to sever. They did not understand that you were not hesitating, you were observing, you were collecting data, you were waiting for the exact moment when the evidence was undeniable and the course of action was irrefutable. And now, Virgo, now that moment has arrived, or it is arriving. And when you act, when you finally move, when you reveal that your silence was not confusion but calculation, that your patience was not desperation but discipline, they are going to be shocked into a state of emotional paralysis, because the person they thought would never leave is already gone. The person they thought would always be waiting has stopped waiting. The person they thought they understood has revealed herself to be a mystery so deep that all their assumptions are rendered laughable, and they are going to try to come back. They are going to try to explain. They are going to try to appeal to the old you, the patient you, the forgiving you, but they are not talking to that person anymore. That person was a phase. That person was a costume you wore while you were gathering the strength to become who you actually are. And who you actually are does not negotiate with people who mistake her grace for ignorance. For some of you, the person who underestimated you is family. A parent who looked at your sensitivity and saw fragility. A sibling who looked at your thoughtfulness and saw passivity. A relative who looked at your standards and saw snobbery, or your boundaries and see coldness, or your independence and see selfishness. Someone who decided long ago what your role in the family constellation was going to be. The helper, the fixer, the one who does not make waves, the one who sacrifices so others can shine. The one whose needs are always secondary because her needs are not as loud, not as messy, not as demanding. They built a family mythology around your willingness to hold everything together, and they never asked if you wanted to be the glue. They never considered what happens to glue when it is stretched too thin. They never imagined that you were not holding things together out of inability to let go, but out of a conscious, deliberate choice that you were making from a place of power, a power they refused to see. And now, Virgo, now you are withdrawing that power. You are redirecting it. You are no longer holding their world together. You are building your own. And the collapse that follows is going to reveal exactly how much weight you were carrying. They are going to look at the ruins of the old family dynamic, and they are going to realize with a horror that borders on grief that you were not the weak link. You were the load-bearing wall. And without you, the structure cannot stand. They underestimated your importance. They underestimated your strength. They underestimated the sheer architectural necessity of your presence. And the view they are about to get of you standing outside the wreckage, whole, complete, unburdened, and free, is going to be the most devastating lesson of their lives. But here is the part that has never happened before. Here is the part that made me stop the reading and question my own senses. In every other case I have witnessed where someone was underestimated and then revealed their true power, the energy followed a predictable pattern. The underestimator experiences shock, then denial, then bargaining, then either acceptance or collapse. It is a human drama. It plays out in recognizable stages. But what I am seeing in your field, Virgo, is not human, not in the way we normally mean it. The person who underestimated you is not just experiencing a personal shock. They are experiencing a metaphysical one, because the scale of what you are revealing is not just bigger than they thought. It is categorically different. It is as if they spent their whole life studying birds, and you just revealed that you are not a bird at all. You are a dragon, and they do not have a category for dragon. Their mind cannot process it. Their worldview cannot accommodate it. The cognitive dissonance is so extreme that it is creating a literal energetic feedback loop. I can see it in their aura from here. They are disoriented. They are questioning their own judgment in ways that go beyond this one mistake. If they were wrong about you, what else are they wrong about? If you were never who they thought you were, then every decision they made based on that assumption is suspect. Every plan they built is compromised. Every strategy they executed is revealed to have been operating on false intelligence. And that is not just embarrassing. That is existentially destabilizing. They are not just losing you. They are losing their trust in their own perception. And for a person whose identity is built on being smart, being perceptive, being in control, that loss is a kind of death. A death of the self that looked at you and saw smallness. I want you to understand what you are doing to them without trying to, because this is crucial. You are not punishing them. You are not performing. You are not even aware, most of the time, of the full extent of your impact. You are simply existing in your truth, and your truth is too bright for their filters. Your truth is too large for their containers. Your truth is too precise for their generalizations. And the universe, in its infinite elegance, has arranged for this revelation to happen at the exact moment when their underestimation has reached its maximum investment. They have gone all in on their false assumption. They have bet everything on the idea that you are manageable, containable, predictable. They have built castles on the assumption that you are solid ground, and the ground is not just shifting. The ground is revealing itself to have been a volcano all along. A dormant, patient, perfectly measured volcano that never erupted, not because it lacked fire, but because it chose not to. And now the earth is opening, and the heat is rising, and the sky is about to turn colors they have never seen. And they are standing at the edge of the caldera with a bucket of water, still believing they can control what happens next. They cannot. No one can. Because what you are becoming, what you have always been underneath the careful exterior, is not subject to their management anymore. It never was. But now they know, and knowing is the thing they cannot survive intact. Let me describe what this looks like in practical terms, because I know you need the ground beneath the metaphor. The person who underestimated you is currently watching you do things that should not be possible within their model of who you are. If it is a boss, they are watching you produce work that outshines their own, attract opportunities that bypass their authority, build relationships with people they have been trying to impress for years. They are watching you become magnetic. They are watching your name appear in rooms they cannot access. They are watching your reputation outgrow the box they tried to keep you in. And every time they see evidence of your expansion, they feel a little more of their own power leak away, because power over someone depends on the belief that they need you more than you need them. And you do not need them. Not anymore, maybe not ever. If it is an ex, they are watching you glow from a distance. They are hearing about you from mutual friends. They are seeing photographs where your eyes look clearer than they ever did when you were with them. They are noticing that you are not calling, you are not texting, you are not asking about them. You have become a closed book, and the cover is more beautiful and more intimidating than any page they were ever allowed to read. They are realizing that your love was not a cage you built for yourself. It was a garden you invited them into, and they trampled it, and now the garden has become a fortress, and the gates are locked, and they do not have the key, and they never will again. And if it is family, they are watching you establish boundaries so clean, so firm, so non-negotiable, that they are bumping up against them like birds hitting glass. They are trying the old tactics: guilt, obligation, nostalgia, the shared history card, the blood is thicker than water card, and you are looking at them with eyes that do not flinch. You are saying no with a voice that does not shake. You are absent from the functions, the gatherings, the crises, the dramas, and your absence is louder than your presence ever was. They are realizing that they did not raise a helper. They raised a sovereign. And sovereigns do not ask permission to rule their own lives. And Virgo, here is what I need you to do with this information. Because the temptation, when you realize how profoundly you have been underestimated, is to prove something, to show them, to make them see, to engineer a moment of revelation so dramatic that they are forced to kneel before your greatness. And I am begging you not to do that, not because they do not deserve to see it, they do, but because proving yourself is still a form of engagement. It is still dancing to their music. It is still defining your value by their perception. And your value was never dependent on their perception. It was only hidden by it. The most powerful thing you can do is not to explode in their direction. It is to simply continue becoming, to let the evidence accumulate until it is undeniable, to let your life speak so loudly that their ears ring with it, to become so thoroughly, completely, unmistakably yourself that their underestimation becomes a relic, a fossil, something future versions of them will look back on with embarrassed disbelief. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to issue a correction. The correction is happening in real time. Every moment you spend thriving outside their expectations, every success, every boundary, every quiet, dignified choice to prioritize your own well-being over their comfort. Every time you say no and the world does not end. Every time you choose yourself and the sky does not fall. Every time you walk away from a table where you were offered crumbs and build your own feast, that is the correction. That is the revelation. That is the phenomenon that has never happened before in quite this way, because you are not just rising, you are rising without looking back. You are rising without seeking validation. You are rising as if it were the most natural thing in the world, because it is. I want to talk about your own relationship with this underestimation, because I think there is a part of you that believed them. Not all of you, not the deepest part, but a part that heard their assumptions and internalized them, a part that looked at their confidence in your smallness and wondered if they were right, a part that thought, maybe I am just the helper, maybe I am just the reliable one, maybe I am just the background, maybe my standards are too high, my expectations too unrealistic, my dreams too big for someone like me. Maybe I should be grateful for the scraps. Maybe I should accept the cage because the cage is safe. Maybe I should keep my head down because heads that rise get cut off. And that part of you, that wounded, confused, beautifully loyal part, it cooperated with the underestimation. It played small because playing small felt like survival. It stayed quiet because speaking felt like danger. It stayed still because moving felt like exposure. And that part of you is the one I am speaking to right now, because that part needs to know that the game is over. The pretending is done. The hiding is no longer necessary. You are not safe because you are small. You are safe because you are powerful. And the world is safer when you are powerful than when you are diminished. Your people are safer. Your work is better. Your love is truer. Your life is larger. And the fear that kept you contracted, that kept you manageable, that kept you inside the line someone else drew, that fear is a liar. It was always a liar. And the person who underestimated you was counting on you believing that lie. They were invested in your fear. They fed it, they reinforced it, they built structures around it. And now those structures are crumbling because you stopped believing, you stopped feeding the fear, you stopped cooperating with your own diminishment. And the vacuum left behind is being filled with something that has no name in any language I know. Something ancient, something regal, something that makes my hands shake when I try to describe it. So what happens now? Now you live. You live without the weight of their assumptions. You live without the need to correct their narrative. You live as if their opinion of you never mattered, because it never did. It only seemed to matter because you were standing close enough to them to let their breath fog your mirror. Step back, wipe the glass, look at yourself. Really look. See the eyes that miss nothing. See the mind that organizes universes. See the heart that loves without losing itself. See the will that bends only to truth. See the power that was never given and therefore cannot be taken away. That is who you are. That is who you have always been. That is the person they looked at and saw as manageable. And that is the cosmic joke that the universe is now revealing to them, one undeniable moment at a time. They thought they were the sculptor and you were the clay. They are about to realize that you were the mountain and they were the chisel, and mountains do not notice chisels. Mountains simply exist, immovable, magnificent, indifferent to the tiny marks that tried to reshape them. If you felt the truth of this message, if you know exactly who underestimated you, if you have been feeling the ground shift beneath your feet and wondering if you are allowed to become what they never saw in you, I want you to claim your magnitude right now. Drop a comment below and write, "They had no idea." Let the universe hear your declaration. Let your own soul record this moment as the day you stopped hiding your power in plain sight. And if this reading found you at the exact moment you needed to remember who you are, subscribe for more messages that see beneath the surface and speak the truth that others are too blind to witness. You are not who they thought you were. You never were. And the revelation has only just begun.